Hi Gemini, welcome to your mid-June 2020 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. You know, I just realized, because I've been doing your reading over and over again, the beginning of it at least, that I have been saying the end of the month instead of the middle of the month. And I've been talking about the solar eclipse that's happening, and that's down the pike. So hopefully I'm not going to screw things up too much more. I can't believe that I'm doing this. Oh well, it's not the end of the world, right? So we've just come off of a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, and I'm a sun in Sagittarius. Maybe that's why I'm so discombobulated. I've had tech issues, just kind of general disarray. And you're the opposite sign of Sagittarius, so this may have affected the 7th house for some of you, which is the house of relationships. So you may have had some kind of crisis point with a one-on-one relationship, an understanding, a breakthrough of sorts. The tension building, culmination being some kind of a breakthrough. You may have had an ending sometimes. And this may have been in May. You may have actually felt it earlier. And for some of you, this is happening in the 6th house. But we can say, and that's a workplace. But we can say change, to be more universal in these areas. And I was just thinking about how intense it felt for me. And I couldn't figure out if it was because I'm a Sagittarius, or if it was because it was an eclipse and that packs more of a punch. But I was expecting just like it was just being lighthearted because it was Sagittarius. But anyway, wow, a lot of kind of discombobulation. Is that a word? I've been getting the 8 of Pentacles too, which is kind of an interesting thing because it makes me think that, with a lot of what's happening, people are really thinking about their skill set and maybe how life has a tendency to throw us curveballs sometimes, and how can you do it? I always thought that the Magician card was associated with Gemini, and then they said it was Aries, so it strikes me that it could be Gemini in a lot of ways, but oh well. So this is the heart of the matter for you, is the Magician card, and this is a card that relates to the idea of being a co-creator of your reality. And what does that mean? And it means the ability to believe that you have the possibility to manifest. I think with Gemini, beliefs are so much a part. You rule the 3rd house of the mind. And so being able to master your mind is such a great gift that you can give to yourself. And that means it's not about tricking your mind into something that's not true, but of actually understanding how much power you possess mentally, if you believe it to be true. And then we have in the past position the 8 of Pentacles, which is a card of doing the training, doing the work that you need to do to get to the part of mastering some type of a skill. Gemini rules manual dexterity, and it can even be they show somebody hammering. So, I mean, like carpentry and that kind of thing. And it's interesting. I wonder how many Geminis do kind of work with their hands. Because typically we would think of something more mental with Gemini, but that could be a great way to clear your head too. But having this sense of hey, my destiny is I hold that in my hands. It's not somebody else's responsibility or ability to give that to me. It's like being very resourceful. And especially in these times, there is that sense of the people that are capable of finding ways around obstacles are the ones that are really doing well. They said in the Great Depression in the United States, when the stock market crashed in the, starting in 1929 and going throughout the 30s, that people became rich during the Great Depression. And what has happened during this shutdown is I've been amazed at how ingenious certain businesses have been to try to work around some of the, I'm not going to editorialize some of the restrictions, I'll just say that, okay? So being able to do that and do it and to thrive or to at least survive, the magician can be about, realizing that you have that ability, and that's what magic really is, for alchemy. You're taking one thing, you're taking crap, and you're turning it into gold, or at least silver. At least silver. Okay. And the higher message is the Two of Swords. So some kind of dilemma that you're faced. You're at the horns of a dilemma. Now this is the higher message. So you're looking at it from the standpoint of the bigger picture. And so what I see with that is somebody who is facing wanting to, saying, should I stay here or do something else? And so what it makes me think is that maybe you've trained for something, but you realize that it's too confining, that you don't want those kind of hours. Now, an example, this is a really funny thing. I wonder about so many people who have been off for a couple of months, and now that they're going back to work, they're like, dang, I am not cut out for the 9 to 5 grind anymore, like they got spoiled. And I just laugh because I have Neptune in the 6th house, which is about daily routine. So at a very young age, I was just like, I can't do this. I was just like, and I always thought of that as a weakness. And I just realized it's being wired in a different way. I felt like if I had to do that I would lose myself. I knew that I was meant to do something that went against the grain, that was not, that if I just was living that 9 to 5 life, that I'd probably get sucked into that and I'd never be able to, live this life where I'm kind of outside of that. And it's been valuable to inform what I'm doing right now. And that's what I mean by it. And perhaps you're at that horns of a dilemma, and you have to look at it from the spiritual point of view. You can't just look at it from the materialistic viewpoint. What crosses you is the Six of Pentacles. This is the card of giving and receiving, and you see the scales, so there's a sense of fairness. And part of that has to be, maybe you're not paying attention to that. And sometimes this will be due to different things that are going on in the chart. And of course, the chart is just kind of symbolic of what you came into in this lifetime. I mean, we're talking, it's not just this piece of paper, we're talking about your past lives and all that. So if I see somebody, when I'm doing an astrological reading and they have Saturn in the 6th house, they may have, it's really funny, but somebody with Saturn in the 6th house, they may have in a past life been a slave. So in this lifetime, they have a very strong work ethic, but it's almost like they have that mentality of slavery where they don't, or a servant, because the 6th house can be servants or service to others, which is great. I mean, being a humble servant to others is great, but there has to be a reciprocal thing going on. It has to be two-sided. If you give to others, unless you're volunteering, that's a different story. But if you are doing something for a living and you are not getting what you're giving, then it's an imbalanced situation, and that can lead to not only feeling a sense of resentment, but also not being able to prosper and have what you deserve. And so perhaps that's why the Magician is coming up, is this idea of like, hey, I can do this for myself. I'm working for this person. I can be a consultant. I can, I don't need a middleman to do this kind of work. What's coming in, or the advice, this is the Moon card. Tuning in from the spiritual perspective instead of just the material perspective or the intellectual with Gemini, tuning into your higher self, your emotional nature, the intuitive side of yourself, to see what you should do, not just looking at it logically, because this can also be creative types of work, and you may feel like, well, I got trained with this, the Eight of Pentacles. I invested so much in this training. I should be, using it. But you know what? This is, I won't say this is the only life you have. I believe that life is eternal. But this is the only life we're going to be living as the entity known as you. And so for all practical purposes, we can say this is your only life. Knowing that it's really not, but do you want to spend it trying to justify, training that you got that may not be what you're really into? It doesn't really make much sense in the grand scheme of things. And also, not allowing yourself to be deluded by things that maybe they're vague fantasies that you have that are not really realistic. The Outcome is another card associated with creativity. This is a strong reading for creativity, the Empress. So you have to, in order to be a successful artist, you have to believe in yourself. This quote by Van Gogh almost brought me to tears. I think he was bipolar, I'm not sure, but he, I guess he must have had, I haven't read his biography, but I guess he must have had bouts with, I don't know about depression, but just not believing in his gifts. And he said, I must pick up my pencil again. And then, he didn't, I don't think he became famous in his lifetime. And my God, what are we, how many things, even phone cases with his, Starry, Starry Night. And it almost brings me to tears thinking about that, because how much he suffered in his lifetime for his art, okay? And this may be something else. You may be a writer with the Magician or with the Empress. Maybe you're wanting to start your own business, but you have to believe in yourself. And also believing of being deserving of abundance. The Empress is a great card. I love the Magician and Empress for you in this reading, Gemini. Just we're going to have a solar eclipse, and it's going to be, I'm giving you a little preview. Sorry, hitting the, and it's going to be in your first house, unless you're born on at 0 degrees of Gemini. It's going to be in your first house of the self. So new beginnings in who you are in later this month. You might even be feeling it now, even in the beginning of June. But you have to be the Magician. Nobody else is going to hold your hand. And if that means that you have to go a different route than you thought you were going to go in, you're versatile. You should be able to do it. So I hope that made sense to you, and I wish you all the best as we travel through this month. And if you'd like a private reading, I'm promoting a special offer. It's a combination reading called the Whole Enchilada of 2 full-length readings, natal chart interpretation plus transits for the next 12 months, along with a full-length tarot reading. You can find out more information about that at the link below and all the other readings I offer. And I hope you have a blessed, if you're having a birthday coming up. Happy birthday. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.